I recently entered a tournament with a deck that I literally built on a whim an hour before the event, and I absolutely crushed the competition. And it's all thanks to a crazy combo that was literally sitting right under my nose the entire time. Let me explain. It was the weekend of the 2025 World Championships, and I was trying to think of a fun deck to play to a locals World Championships celebration tournament to celebrate another season of the Pokemon TCG in the books. I could have just stuck with my previous tournament-winning Raging Bolt EX deck. Go see my last video if you want to learn more about that. But I wasn't feeling it was the most fun option. Plus, it would definitely be what people at my locals would expect that I'd play, especially after seeing my previous video. A little more than an hour before the tournament, I was watching Round 9 of World Swiss, where I saw a Charizard Pidgeot deck face off against an Zoroark deck, with Cornerstone and Wellspring Mask Ogerpon? I was intrigued, and as I usually do, suddenly came to a very random idea. What if I put the Ogerpons in Charizard? I'd be able to use Charizard's Infernal Rain ability to power up most of their attack cost, and I can use Luminous Energy I was already playing for Munkidori in an older build. It seemed perfect. So I then spent the next 10 minutes or so rewatching the match and theory crafting, electing to only take the Wellspring Ogerpon due to the circumstances of the local metagame. I also came to the realization that playing Wellspring Mask Ogerpon EX was, in a sense, a spiritual successor to Delphox V, which I played in Charizard as a unique tech card in my first regional ever at Indianapolis 2024. Because of this, I decided to name the deck IndyZard 2.0. My 60 was all ready to go, and with literally zero practice, I was taking a deck that I'd literally built from scratch to a potentially huge local event. But, just like my previous tournament run, I had a strange sense of pride and confidence. Maybe I had just solved the best way to play Charizard EX. When I got to the tournament, I was able to chat with some friends and ended up getting one practice game against a Gholdengo player, and my deck absolutely destroyed them, with a combination of Dusclops and Wellspring Ogerpon completely sweeping away all of their Gimmighoul's. This was definitely the right choice, I thought to myself, and just in time, because it was once again time to show off my skills through another 5-round tournament. Before we get started, I would quickly ask to see if you're subscribed. I put a ton of effort into planning and making these videos, which can get tough sometimes due to me being a college student. Subscribing helps support me and my channel, and it allows me to make more videos like the ones you're currently watching. And if you want to help support my channel even further, consider becoming a member. With 3 different tiers to choose from, you'll get access to my videos early, get exclusive behind-the-scenes updates, you'll get creative inputs on new videos, and more. Every member will also be featured in the credits of every single one of my videos. Thank you so much for your support so far. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, normally I write out a full script with detailed notes through each of my rounds, but since I just moved back into college at the time of making this video, I'm a bit more pressed for time. Plus, I'm currently working on editing a massive collaboration video with my friend Vernius, so I've decided to talk about this tournament run unscripted. Don't worry, I'll still provide a high amount of detail, so don't worry if it's a little bit more rambly than what the previous video was. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's talk about my round 1 matchup against Marnie's Grimmsnarl. Round 1 was definitely a bit of an interesting start against Grimmsnarl. I would say, I think I went second. I won the coin flip and elected to go second because obviously Charizard wants to use Arven, and so I kind of started setting up a little bit with, I think I got my traditional, like, Charmander, Duskull Pidgey setup, and my opponent just kind of started setting up Impidimps. Like, they didn't really actually set up much of anything. They got a couple Impidimps, I think 2 Impidimps. They placed down, like, Spike Muth and had Impidimps, and then they also had a Snorunt in play as well, and then they passed it over to me, so like a kind of underwhelming turn from them. I replaced their Spike Muth with Artazon. I really didn't want to use Artazon, so that way they couldn't get like Munkidoris or whatever, but I just needed to kind of keep getting set up. So I put down another Charmander. I believe I used TM Evo that turn to evolve up my Pidgeotto and a Charmeleon, and then that was it for that turn. And then on their turn, they started kind of getting the ball rolling a little bit, and they kind of started chaining together some stuff for Grimmsnarls to get ready for, and all while I was kind of focusing on my Pidgeot. It got to my turn, and I set up Pidgeot. I started kind of getting all my combo pieces together, and I was looking for a big sweep play. I think that was really what I was looking for, is I had Wellspring Ogerpon, I had Luminous Energy, and I was kind of just ready to go. I was only waiting to have the Dusknoir to basically do a full board wipe. And by the time that I got that all set up, my opponent already had Grimmsnarl going. And so they took the first prizes. And I was like, okay, so they already took the first prize. I think I had Cleffa on the board at one point as well. But they, for some reason, didn't. They were forced to hit into the Cleffa. I think it was TM Evo or Cleffa on that second turn. And so it was Cleffa. They knocked out the Cleffa, and then that put me in a good position to just go Counter Catcher up one of their, I think I would use, like, Counter Catcher up a Marnie's Morgrem that they had on the bench. I used Dusknoir to delete one of their, and then used Dusknoir to take out the Frostlass that they'd set up. And then I used Wellspring Ogerpon. I set it up with Infernal Rain plus Luminous Energy. And then I used Torrential Pump for 100, knocking out the active Morgrem, and then taking out their other Morgrem. And so that was a disgusting 3-prize sweep. And also they just had like nothing going on other than one Grimmsnarl. But unfortunately, just due to the fact that I hadn't played enough with this deck yet, it took me a little bit to kind of figure out what my best play line was. And my opponent was also definitely slow playing a little bit, even though their turns were pretty straightforward, pretty linear. And so it came down to just me getting a faulty quick search. I thought I was going to be able to use Wellspring again in the later game, but I realized that I wasn't actually going to be able to set it up with the current time constraints. But I just finished shuffling my deck, and I realized that I actually just needed to grab Boss's Orders to win the game on the next turn, instead of grabbing the Luminous Energy, which was kind of useless at that point. And so because of that misplay, I definitely should have just grabbed Boss. I would have had game. I was just one turn short from being able to win regardless. I was forced to settle for a tie against Grimmsnarl, which really sucks because I only had one prize card left. My opponent had nothing going on. They were just trying to milk the clock for as long as they could, which, I mean, I don't blame them, but also kind of like, come on, I should have just won that. But that was more on my part of just me misplaying and my opponent just taking advantage of the time rules. So, unfortunately, we did start with a tie, so we were at 0-0-1. Round 2 was against Zacian Archaludon. Now, this is a deck that I faced off against this deck a couple times at locals throughout time, and it's been a deck that's really scary for me, honestly, because I like to play a lot of those like smaller HP evolution decks, and I was playing Charizard, so I was like, okay, I'm playing against a Zacian deck. There is no way I'm gonna allow the Zacian deck to go second if I win the coin flip. And I won the coin flip, thank goodness, and I really thank goodness that I did, because my opponent opens up with everything that they need. They had Zacian, they had Hop's Choice Band, they had Snorlax, they had Postwick. So, like, literally already max damage was ready to go on the first turn of the game, which was disgusting. But they couldn't do anything about it. So I settled to use, I think I used Boss up, and I bossed up their Snorlax just to kind of stall for time. And I used Cleffa, started drawing some more cards. And then it came down to, like, it was like they were getting really close to retreating, so I knew I needed to do something. So I set down the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, I retreated into the Wellspring and used Sob, and I Sob blocked them for one turn, because otherwise that Snorlax would have been able to retreat, and then they would have started taking prize cards, which would have been really, really bad. And so I Sob blocked for one turn. Then I think they didn't get everything that they needed. They had a very bad hand. I Iono'd and gave him a new hand, but it wasn't much better for them. They just after the game, he was like, yeah, I just had basically all energies in my hand, and so the Sob block really worked. And then I think I actually used Sob one more time, just so that way I couldn't like just immediately lose. or maybe I just used Cleffa that turn, because I think I was trying to think of, like, okay, well, if the Zacian comes into play at all, because it's Archaludon, so they're going to play Turo. I could just get, have them take 2 prize cards, and that would be really bad. So I think I actually went back into Cleffa. Sorry, these are, like, more loose notes, than my previous video, just because it has been a couple weeks, or like a week or so since this happened. Yeah, it's been 10 days since this happened, so, like, I'm a little bit shaky on what I remember, but then again, this is kind of, like, usually take better notes, but this is a more casual tournament, so I'm kind of just going off of what I remember. But anyways, I used Cleffa because I didn't want to have them take 2 prize cards off of a Turo, which I just given them a new hand, Thiono, so I was a little scared of that. They knocked out the Cleffa, and then I was basically in business after that. I just basically kept farming them with Chi-Yu the entire game. I did get close to using Wellspring, unironically, to use Torrential Pump, but it just didn't end up happening. At one point, I did need to attack with a Charizard, and then they responded with a Zacian. They actually got everything that they needed for a Zacian KO on the Charizard. They did exactly enough with all the multipliers. They used Archaludon to set up all 4 energies onto the Zacian to use the second attack. And that did exactly 330, and I was, like, shocked, like, blown away that Zacian actually one-shotted the Charizard. Of course, it was a very heavy attack for them, and so they just were, it was very close, though, because, then I used Chi-Yu again. They knocked out my Chi-Yu. They went down to 1 prize card, but because they didn't really have anything else going on, I was just able to clean up with Charizard, and that was game. So it was actually way closer than it probably should have been, as there was definitely they kept bricking, essentially, but just due to, like, the awkward circumstance that I had to be put in after the Charizard KO, like, that I wasn't expecting at all, because I didn't realize that he'd have everything for the math. It just kind of created a very awkward board state, but Wellspring definitely has been the MVP in the 2 games so far. Well, I guess that, and then Chi-Yu also, it's a metal type matchup, so Chi-Yu just kind of farms them. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then we moved on to 101 record, and then we went into round 3, and round 3 was against my locals nemesis and my buddy Henry Simmons, who you might remember from the last video as me saying that he always wins every single time against me, so I was not looking to lose to him again. I was super confident. I'm like, you know what, Henry, today's the day I'm going to win. Today's the day I'm going to beat you. And he was playing straight Dragapult. In my notes, I listed that he played Dragapult Dusknoir, but he did tell me after the game, and kind of when we were talking about it later, that he was actually only playing straight Dragapult. And he just kind of bricked. Like, he started with, like, I think 2 Dreepies, and that was it. And I just kind of set up, like, a really, really good board. I went second, which was a huge factor in it. And because I went second, I just kept applying so much pressure. At one point, I literally just popped Dusknoir. Or I think he used Itchy Pollen with Badoo. I used Dusclops and KO'd the Badoo. And then off the prizes, I think I got Pidgeot. Because I think I went TM Evo 1 turn. Then I used Dusclops, knock out the Badoo. I got the Pidgeot EX off the prize cards, which was ridiculous. I evolved into Pidgeot, I evolved into Charizard, and then after that, there was basically nothing that he could do. I kind of just kept sniping all his stuff throughout the rest of the game. I set up multiple other things. Wellspring was almost online, but just Wellspring was not needed in that game because I was just so far ahead, and there was just, I think I was surprised either the Wellspring or the Luminous at one point, so I just couldn't get to it, and I couldn't just board wipe him. So, it was basically just a free matchup at that point, and I felt a little bit bad for Henry, because, like, he just couldn't do anything. And he almost set up a Dragapult, but at that point, it was just too late, and so he just ended up scooping, because he literally couldn't do anything. So, that was round 3. I was now 2-0-1 in the tournament. It was very, like, it was a quicker round, but it still took a little bit, just because Dragapult has a lot of ways to try and get back into the game. But since I had Pidgeot, I basically just had a response every single turn anyways, so yeah. Round 4 was against Gholdengo, the same Gholdengo that I had played against for the test game, and he was, let me just say that he was not happy that I was going to be playing against him again, because I just had farmed him in the other game, partially because he played the 50 HP Gimme Ghoul, and I was able to just, like, knock it out by using Dusclops, use Curse Blast on Dusclops, and I'm like, imagine you start with your 50 HP Gimme Ghoul, and he's like, no, I don't want to start with that, because that would be really, really bad for me. I don't want to get Dusclops again, because that was, like, one of the main reasons why he lost. And he started with the 50 HP Gimme Ghoul. However, he did get set up, he did get to go first, and because of that, he was able to get his Genesect online, and all that stuff, and so it basically made the game really difficult for me, because I just was, like, up against a whole bunch of high HP Gimme Ghouls, but Charizard kind of set up eventually. I got Pidgeot online, and I got Charizard, and I started kind of dealing damage and kind of manipulating with Dusknoir and stuff like that. But it came down to towards the end of the game, he used Gholdengo and KO'd, but I couldn't. I had already used Super Rod earlier in the game, which I don't think I should have. So I was basically, like, running out of energies, and my other Charizards were prized, or I just couldn't get them back. I think I used both my retrieval options, so I just wasn't able to get Charizards back, and the last one was prized, so I couldn't just end the game with Charizard, as I really needed to. And so instead, I basically was like, okay, well, I just need to draw enough, to be able to do enough damage to this Gholdengo, or to do enough to the, I was thinking, was that one or two prizes left? One prize, I believe. Or is it two? It was two. 2 prizes left. I still needed to get my, everything going, and then I realized, oh wait, hold on, I can win the game, because previously, I was like, okay, I got my win con here, it's just, like, Wellspring into, the active, I just Saw Block the Scizor, their Scizor for a few turns, and kind of just slowly, like, let them do chip damage to my Wellspring, and then just Saw Block them over and over again, and then I can use Briar, and then win with Torrential Pump. However, unfortunately, I was just out of energies, so I was literally just Saw Blocking at the end of the game, couldn't do much of anything. Then I got the Genesect up, used Sob a couple times, and then actually started thinking about the, I was playing the promo Charmander, just honestly because I couldn't find the other the correct, or the optimal 70 HP Charmander, and I was like, okay, I put the Defiance Band on the Charmander, I've got my energies on it, because I realized I couldn't use Torrential Pump in time, just because otherwise I'd get knocked out by the Scizor, and I couldn't gust multiple times anymore, so I was kind of just stuck there, using Saw Block, and then we got to time, and my opponent kind of realized, like, there's no benefit to, at that point there was no, because the prizing was the winner Pikachu Worlds promo, which is, like, super expensive or whatever, and he realized that he was already out of contention because he already had a loss, and so he's like, okay, I'll just give you I'll scoop here, because you would have had me with Saw Block if we just kept going, because he would have decked out first, but since we went to time, he was just like, yeah, I'll scoop, because there's no point in me winning, I just drag you down with me, and you definitely would have won if we had a little bit more time. So I ended up winning that game against Gholdengo. Definitely wish I would have swapped those games around against that opponent, where I just kind of tied in the practice game, and then got the insane combo in the actual game, that in the tournament that mattered. But super nice of my opponent. If you're listening right now or you're watching, I really appreciate it. Thank you for doing that for me. And then the final round, so I was now 3-0-1 in this tournament, and I was in the finals once again, and my opponent was Ceruledge. Again, the exact same Ceruledge player who I'd won against in the last video. And so he was he was very determined to beat me, because I had won in the most ridiculous way the last time. So he was looking for revenge, and he got to go first. He got his insane turn 1 like he did in the previous game, but because I was playing an evolution-focused deck, I just couldn't apply enough pressure in time like I did with the with Raging Bolt, and so I just couldn't really set anything up. He just kind of bossed anything that I had for the Pidgeots and all that, and I had Pidgeot ready to go at one point, but then he just bossed it up and KO'd the Pidgeotto before I could set it up. And then once I finally got a Charizard up and I was like, okay, now I can actually start playing the game, I looked through my deck again and realized that I had prized 3 Fire Energy cards, meaning that I had 0 left to play with. I only had 1 available to me, and now there was 0, and so that was basically all she wrote. And so I just ended up scooping, because prizing 3 energies is pretty bad. So yeah, they kind of ended the tournament. I know that was the last game was very, very short, but that was basically it. Because after that, I realized, okay, well, there's no way for me to win. Very quick game. I just scooped and was like, okay, well, you got this one. I can't play the game. And so, yeah, Sarah Ledge ended up winning the tournament. And I actually, because I got down paired twice in this tournament, ended up getting placed at 4th place, which seems a little bit ridiculous for me being in the finals, but just it was because of resistance. I always get poor resistance, which meant that I got my cursed. I am back to being cursed with my top 4 finishes. I said it in the past video, I'll say it here. I can only get top 4 in these tournaments, by the way. Like, it's literally a curse to only get top 4, but never win. The Raging Bolt tournament that I had, though, that for the Win-A-Box, that was the first time I had won in a year. And every other time, except for like one tournament where I just had really bad luck, I got like 8th. Every other time has been top 4, or I guess top 8. Like in that top cut, every single time, I just literally can never get past that top 4 hump, except for once. So it was okay. Honestly, again, this was a for fun tournament, and this was a deck that I literally built an hour before the tournament actually started, so I did not really care at all that I ended up kind of falling short in the end, but I was really proud of my performance. Wellspring was definitely the MVP in my sets here, just because it was able to apply so much pressure. And it's more versatile than Delphox was. It does a little bit less damage than Delphox, and especially in a meta where it would have a relevant typing against Gholdengo. But Wellspring was super good also because it had Sob, and I could just Sob block my opponents. I only did get to use the Wellspring, the Torrential Pump delete option once in the actual tournament. So I was a little unfortunate, but the Sob block really did come in clutch and basically helped me win games that otherwise I would not have been able to win. So I'm very grateful that I put Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, and I definitely would recommend that you try it in your Charizard list as well. And yeah, I know you might be thinking, ew, Charizard, like, gross. I can't believe he's playing Charizard Dusknoir. But it's like, come on, you should know me at this point. Charizard Dusknoir, or just Charizard in general, was my bread and butter for such a long time. And I only stopped playing it because at the time it just didn't feel right in the meta. But now it just feels really good, especially with Chi-Yu fixing your Gholdengo matchup. So I think that Wellspring kind of just rounds out your matchups. It really makes it good against Dragapult. And then Gardevoir is super good as well because you're just basically hitting any opposing deck that's evolution focused. And just knocking out multiple of them, taking multiple prize cards right out the gate. And I definitely would say if you want to have a more like versatile option, you could play Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, but just as kind of like a stall option, it's just a little bit awkward in my opinion. It just didn't feel right to me, but I would definitely recommend trying out Wellspring Ogerpon for yourself in Charizard with Luminous Energy and Munkidori, because it does make a big difference, honestly, and I had a ton of fun in this tournament. I definitely want to do more tournament reports in the future. I think I'll definitely try and take more, better notes in the future. But yeah, that's really it for that tournament report. I did end up kind of just destroying. I had 2 games where I was just able to like destroy and delete with Wellspring, and afterwards I've actually had some pretty disgusting games where I've just been able to Wellspring my opponents on live. But yeah, I just was like, I thought this was a really cool way to kind of tell you guys how my chaotic deck building processes can go sometimes, where I like just think of something completely random and super dumb, and then it ends up working really well. This happens a lot for some reason, like the same process behind Glass Trumpet and Raging Bolt. But yeah, that's really it for this video. I know it's a bit quicker. Probably my rambling here at the end caused me to drag it out for another like 3-ish minutes. So yeah, that's gonna be all from me. I really am trying to work towards that collaboration video. It's like, again, it's like 2 hours worth of footage that I have to go through, and I'm about like 16 minutes through editing through 16 minutes, though I definitely am trying to cut down as much as I can without actually losing any of the like video itself. There are some golden moments in here. You guys will really enjoy this, especially if you're a Party Crashers fan. You will absolutely love this next video, or this big project that I'm working on. But yeah, I just wanted to make something to get some more content out for you guys, because I don't want to keep you guys waiting for months and months at a time. But yeah, I'm in college again, back in school, so there might be a little bit more of a disparity in like long form content, but I might do some more like streaming and stuff in the future coming up here, now that I have somewhat of a more like open-ish schedule in the evening times. So we'll see what happens about that. But yeah, that's gonna be all from me. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, God bless, have fun. We'll see you out there, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all so much for watching.